Two members, they're not showing up.
Two are not going to be here.
We're not gonna be here. You're live.
We ready? I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for Oconee County, South Carolina, July the 19th, 2021. David, could you read the invocation, please?
Yes, sir. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we ask that you please watch over this committee and the planning staff and guide us to wise and safety-conscious decisions in support of the public. We also ask that you watch over the county law enforcement and first responders as they perform their duties, that they may return home safe to their families after every shift. And we ask that you please watch over the county and state leaders as they work to make the county and state a better place to live each day. In his name we pray, amen.
Mike, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There are no minutes available for the last meeting. Public comment for non-agenda items. Debbie, we have you.
Okay.
We give you 4 minutes for this. I'll hold up a flag when you got 1 minute to go.
Okay.
Please state your name for the record.
Okay, I'm Debbie Sewell. I'm here tonight representing the Ag Advisory Board. And really, it's gonna be shorter than 4 minutes. What I mainly wanna do is thank y'all for your support for the Ag Advisory Board. Mike and I have been talking since the beginning of the year that we want to coordinate our efforts, since we're kind of part of the planning committee anyway. I guess we're a child of the planning committee, kind of. So, but anyway, I just wanted to tell you two main things that that we've discussed throughout the year that relate to you. And one thing that you have on the agenda tonight, I also want to address. But first of all, we support the local agriculture, and particularly local food-related agriculture. And I hope you're aware that we're supporting a local food policy that includes everything from the ground to the plate, back into the ground again in a sustainable way. And what also that involves infrastructure. And as you know, infrastructure also includes roads. So Andy's going to talk to you tonight about how agriculture and roads and road safety with agriculture and some needs that we have in that respect as well. That was the topic of our last meeting. I also want to mention that one of the other things that we talked about the meeting before Pat came, and so did Mike, we talked about the preservation and conservation of ag lands and farmland, forestry land as well. We didn't talk so much about that, but that is a concern to the Ag Board as well. And we have a committee that's working on looking at things that people have done in other parts of the country, things that are going on in our neighboring state, North Carolina, are very interesting, and that's on the county level. That would be our policy. We already have federal policy and state policies and conservation easements, that kind of thing, that are available to farmland. But this would be something that's particular to our county and to other counties in the state. But like I said, we really appreciate all your support for us. And when we get something ready, we're working on it now, we want to bring it to you and let you look at it, because we want this to be, if nobody else in the state has it, that's okay with us. We want to be the shining star that starts this across the state. Also, I wanted to mention, I should have looked at the agenda before I came tonight, but I didn't know that you had about the development issues on there. That's very important to agriculture as well, particularly when we have a traditional agriculture area, and which kind of goes along with the farmland protection, is that when a development decides they're going to build next to an ag facility, it's only the beginning of problems, and a lot of times it falls on ag rather than the new developer. And we want to see particularly buffers that, the developer is responsible for. Ag is already responsible for buffers, as you know, may or may not know, so we want to make sure that there's a reciprocal agreement there. But that's all I have, but Andy's gonna talk to you later when you get to the road portion of this, and I hope that, you can, see where we're coming from as far as our roads in Oconee County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that did not sign up for public comment? Okay. Yes, David?
I'd just like to thank Debbie for talking to us, but also, Debbie, I'd like to ask if there's any way, when we go through this development standards, as far as the buffering part, if you guys have any comments on that, please give them to her. We'll be receptive to those.
Commission member comments. Let me start out here real quickly. Don't forget, we have training due in just about mid-September, from 9 in the morning till 12. Next meeting, there'll be a public hearing, and there'll be some different procedures that we're going to use for that meeting, and we'll go over them just before we start that meeting so that we know what we're going to be doing and we don't get ourselves in a difficult situation. Anybody else got any comments? Kyle? Don't know, it's Kyle Reed, the Director of Public Works. They call him the Assistant Director, but he is the Director.
Thank you. Was asked to come up here, discuss some things with y'all. Mr. Smith, had asked me. So, don't know if there's a particular order y'all would like to go in.
There isn't, Kyle. Just to refresh everybody's memory, we had asked him to talk about Exit 4, particularly the speedway traffic situation there with that development or that entity coming in. And we had also talked about the sidewalk issue, and we were going to open it up to member questions after that.
Okay.
So if you want to go after it.
Briefly, no cursory knowledge of the traffic issue down at Exit 4. My understanding is there's a ramp that comes off of the road that crosses over 85, and that causes traffic to be in conflict with the people coming off the on-ramp to get on that road, and backs up along the bridge for that. You know, things change. Probably worked fine when it was done. All those things kind of come into clarity as you go along, hindsight being 2020. As far as a fix for that, you would like to see people drive on past, come back around, those kind of things to try to rectify blocking traffic along that road. But as far as fixing or mitigating that issue, it kind of what it is as far as cars coming in there and how they maneuver, how they conflict, how they get across, what cars are coming off 85, how many of them are queued up to go into the gas station, and then you compound that issue when you add 80-foot tractor trailers are the ones wanting to do it. The other property to be or considering for development is along, again, two state roads, Grub Road, having a concern about the alignment of at the intersection with the road. It has a wider throat, but it's still going to be difficult. It's a narrower road. The way that we handle it, and where it's only in our ordinance, as far as I understand. There may be something in 32 that references recreational vehicle developments, but for us, if you got a development that seems to be impactful to the road or the traveling public when it comes in, we require a traffic impact study to look at how they're going to maneuver in and out, what kind of traffic impact loading they're going to put to the road, those sorts of things. These being state roads, it would be the SCDOT, the guys in Greenville, checking the encroachment permit, the plan, how they're gonna maneuver, how they're gonna come on, that it would probably behoove of, if there is a concern, then that concern be relayed, in some manner from the county, for them to take a look at, how impactful it's gonna be, especially to Grub Road, being what Grub Road is.
Mike, you had the good question.
One, I was wondering if we had any opportunity to pull up the photograph of that one area where the Y happened, where there was the concern over 18-wheelers trying to make that cutback. Do we by chance have access to that photo? It was where the speedway would go in. And one of the questions that we had so there's the main road coming off of 85, there's the proposed location of the speedway, and then there's a hard cutback that comes in that would be the side road access to the speedway.
Yeah, Grub Road coming 990.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
Perpendicular to
Right, and so what our first question was is that a county road or a state road?
State Road.
And so they both are state roads then, and so it's gonna be a state permit that gives access.
Yes.
Would it also be state road that determines, and the concern from the citizens there was that an 18-wheeler trying to get to the back where the 18-wheeler gas stuff would be, they're going to be trying to make that hard turn, meaning they're going to swing into both lanes into oncoming traffic to try to make that hard cutback. And so we were wondering if there was going to be that throat of that road being expanded, or if there was any opportunity to require the Speedway or the developer of that to widen that access. Is this,
This is the property that it's gonna be on, this one and this one, I believe. I keep pushing on the overlay, but Grubbs Road is up here on the top.
let's back off a little bit.
There, you see, you come along White Hill Road, and then you turn on Grubbs
Yeah,
Road.
it's Whitefield and then that hard cut back onto Grubbs. If that throat would be widened at all, and who would be, if the county has any control over asking the developer to widen that throat, or if the state DOT is going to require it, because what the concern of citizens is that they're going to come in off Whitfield, as you see there, and the 18-wheelers are going to expand out into both lanes and then spin around to try to make that hard cut back onto Grubbs. And is there anything we can do as a county to help?
Yeah, it would be a guess on my part, but the way that I look at it, and I'm sure the way the DOT, because they look at it more of it than I do, would look at it would be how traffic's gonna run. You always concern yourself about where they enter in or exit, and if they're coming off the interstate, then I would assume that they would wanna have a frontage on Whitfield Road where those tractor trailers could turn in and then go get their gas, and then if there was an exit on Grubbs Road, if they allow it, then they could come out to Grubbs Road, and then they would be outbound Grubbs Road, being able to make that turn. Well, that wide Y would help them, with that, and left-hand turn would be better than a right-hand turn on a narrow, or on a poorer alignment.
Right. So obviously, using the DOT's expertise, they're going to do what they think is best.
Yeah.
Problem is the citizens are complaining about the opposite side of the road, how the DOT set it up. So apparently, while it was their best way of doing it, it still has caused a real backup of traffic from my understanding.
About the Anderson County side, correct?
What's that?
Talking about the Anderson.
The Anderson County side, yep. Is also DOT controlled, but was a mess. And so just from a county standpoint, was there anything that we could do to help say, hey, on this side of 85, let's try to not have the same mess that's on the Anderson side of 85?
I don't work for the DOT, but that's not typical. I mean, there's not many exits that you come across that is the way that it's designed. It's not, on-ramps and off-ramps are normally in of themselves. You enter one place, you exit one place, and you don't have a lot of competing traffic, conflict points, those sorts of things. So it becoming that way again, I would assume not likely, but it's an assumption.
Right. So it doesn't sound like there's anything that we have the ability to deal with.
I'm wondering, is there, I know Kyle knows a contact at the DOT that we can start asking questions about. Maybe if you could leave that contact with Vivian, if you would. Does anybody else have any questions about this? They have not applied for a building permit yet, have they? Okay.
The biggest deal is, as a county, since citizens have already expressed concern in advance, we want to try as a committee to do everything we can to convey that concern to the powers that
Right.
be.
Yeah, and that would be the DPE.
So
At
any
state.
contact that you could give us there
Sure.
would be helpful.
I will. I'll pass that along.
Anybody else got any questions about it?
I have a question about the sidewalk thing. Are you ready for me to ask that?
Sure, go ahead.
Y'all ready for me to move
Yeah.
on? I can
So,
go to that, but if you would, just so I can reference the ordinance. It's 26.3Q, sidewalks shall not be located within the road right of way. So it's abundantly clear and pretty concrete that no sidewalks allowed.
where we're trying to get to as a county is several things. One, there's a safety issue when you're following behind a cat bus and all of a sudden they're stopping it anywhere along the road. On 123 especially, it's anytime somebody's doing this, they're stopping or starting or going or not going. And when we've asked CAT about it, we said, can we create designated areas for the bus to stop? Whether that's a little sign that says bus stops here, or whether that's a bench, or whether that's a covered thing. And CAT has said, that's all fine and good, but we've got to have access to that spot. Otherwise, we have a liability with them walking down the street or in front of somebody's property, which means a sidewalk. And we said, well, right now we've got a conflict because we can't have sidewalks, at least within the county side of things. And so that's where this conversation has started, is we need sidewalks to get people to CAT designated stopping points, so CAT can then create designated stopping points. And we found out from a county that we don't have the ability to do sidewalks. Then it came up that, well, what if we required the developer accessing potential roads to put sidewalks in? And then currently it says no sidewalks. But at the same time, I know there are sidewalks on county roads in developments like Waterford Point and Waterford and Waterside Crossing, and many of these residential neighborhoods have sidewalks in them that are county roads. And so I was curious as to maybe, did those get built prior to this ordinance? I'm trying to figure out where this ordinance came in and why.
Look back one more second.
And not that you should have the knowledge to, unless you were here during that time, I hate to put you
I
on
was
the
on the
spot.
private side, but it was 2008, 12/16 of 2008.
So those that were built in 2000 and 2006.
Yeah, 2008 prior, sidewalks were allowed. 2008 was when keeping them out.
Did we do that as a county because of a liability over somebody tripping? Did we do that as a county because it was a maintenance issue?
All the above. So, just generally speaking, we don't hate sidewalks. As the road department doesn't hate sidewalks. But everything's got its place and everything's got its cost. Just like trees. Trees are beautiful, but when they're in the road right away and they're laying out the road, it causes a problem. So, generally, the most damage we see is it's a maintenance liability, plain and simple. A cost incurred and have to go out and fix it, and that kind of stuff. You got a 1/4 inch drop in sidewalk, then you have to repair it. It's a trip hazard, and we're liable for that. And so you have all these concrete trucks and all these construction equipment and everything else that comes in these subdivisions, and that's just generally speaking, off the top of my head, this is not a hard number, but the vast majority of damage done is by construction in the subdivisions, and especially on curves at intersections where a truck may run off on it and bust up the curb and definitely bust up the sidewalk because there's just not much meat to those corners. That's where the majority of the issue came from. Is what does the county want to do as far as what do we want? What kind of roads are we looking at? And how are we looking at them? Generally, our ordinance is not set up for subdivisions. That the ordinance, those subdivisions fall under our ordinance, but it's set up more for, through roads, for, roads that are, taking people from and to somewhere more than the, residential roads that they live off of. That's apparent with everything that you see in here in our ordinance. That's kind of the way that it shifted. Does the county want to stay in the business of taking residential subdivision roads? So, like you're talking about the cat bus, most of those are state roads. Tanglewood is the only one that kind of comes to my mind that they come down, and then that you got issues with that, or complaints about the cat bus using Tanglewood. Sidewalks, as far as they go, are great. People need a place to walk. It'd be better if they weren't in the road. Those kinds of things. So we don't have an issue in since for probably a year and a half now. We've discussed removing that part of the ordinance or creating a completely separate ordinance for subdivision roads. COVID hit, tornado hit, and we just never got to it with Adam, Mr. Chapman, and Mr. Root to work all those things through as far as what we want to see.
Well, it's come to our attention because of some of these other things with our comp plan, with our 2020 comp plan, and we realized this stumbling block of these sidewalks, and it's great information that it came about in 2008, because that definitely helps us understand when it happened, and then the fact of the half-inch, because I could easily see those are not built to road standards, and so any vehicle that hits that thing has the risk of dropping that 3 or 4 inches that's sitting on dirt.
And generally, the contractors do a good job. We follow the roads and that kind of stuff, but when you take a cement truck, there's not much that's going to hold up to it.
Right, exactly.
Hard enough on the roads to hold up to it.
So we just didn't want to create something that all of a sudden muddied the water, but it sounds like that if we made the developer maintain that rather than that become a county-maintained portion, that might be a solution.
There are perpetual maintenance agreements that can be done for them to maintain, just like the islands, landscaping and islands, that kind of stuff. So there's an opportunity, and that's what my recommendation would be. But any of that stuff that we would change would come to y'all.
How does the cities, because they're the ones that have the main sidewalks,
Yes.
so do they have an insurance or whatever that covers somebody that trips on one of their sidewalks, or is it just covered under the city?
Not sure about that. For us, it would be our umbrella policy that covers us, but I'm not sure about the city. I assume it'd be the same.
Have we had a lot of problems with people suing because they tripped over something on the sidewalk?
Not to my knowledge. We haven't had a claim that I'm aware of for us. Now, as far as calls for maintenance, yes. We've had several calls for maintenance to go out and fix sidewalks that were, Waterford. I can remember them all, but yeah, we have gone in and had to repair sidewalks in various places.
Couldn't we have special standards that you have to build a sidewalk to? Certain thickness?
Yeah, there would be a
whatever.
standard. It would probably, generally, we go by the DOT standard, so it would be by that, yeah.
I guess we had, so essentially, you're saying that there needs to be looked at a separate ordinance for subdivision roads, is that correct? And within that, you could have, say, the option for sidewalks or something for a developer? You mentioned something about a different ordinance.
Right, yeah, there's different standards, so we hold everybody to the big green book, the policy of geometric design of streets and highways, and it's massive, and then there's a little supplement that's, roads under 400 ADT, which average daily trips. There's some leeway in what kind of build out you have and what kind of standards you hold to compared to that. So yeah, there's an opportunity to do something different if that's, it would be the wish of the commission, wish of the council, to follow through with that.
Well, we had mentioned, let's say a developer wanted the option, let's say that the ordinance were written and the developer had the option
Right.
putting in sidewalks, and he put up a surety bond for so many years. And did something like that, but it really is a safety issue when you get into certain areas.
Right.
And we've all seen it.
Well, and we own it forever, so that hopefully there would be some sort of association involved, involved with this that would carry that on past whatever time. But yeah, we carry it forever. So,
Forever's a long time.
forever's a long time. Those kind of things are the stomach block, so to speak, of having somebody maintain something inside your, we had the same issue with signs. There was a maintenance agreement for signs from subdivisions. If they wanted to do like the Black Post or whatever that Waterford has, the way I look at that, it's hard for us to allow that kind of maintenance to happen, especially for signs and 911, 911 going out there and trying to find roads, or emergency vehicles going out there and trying to find roads. So in my mind, the thought from me was, I'm fine with them putting their own signs up as long as they meet our standards and, breakaway and all that other good stuff. But, them maintaining them is something that's kind of gave me a little bit of heartburn because of what it is. So we went back and just said, we can do this as an encroachment permit, and then we can, if the sign gets knocked down, we can go up there and put one of ours up because we have the means and ways to handle that or whatever else. Because boards change over year to year. You don't know who to contact. The Mountain Lakes, I'm trying to remember the name of the group or whatever that a lot of their subdivisions are involved in, but it's good to have that contact or whatever else, but there's only so many that are in there to be able to find out who we need to contact, to be able to do that, call somebody and say, hey, well, you got a stop sign down or you got a street sign down. That's just not a good scenario to get into. Sidewalks being a little bit different, but it's still somebody maintaining something inside the roadway to that effect. So there's got to be something that you can hold somebody to on that end, and somebody to be held to it.
Is that a current shortfall in our ordinances as it stands now, allowing a developer to put up black signs this year and red signs the next time the HOA president changes? Or if it's going to be turned over to the county, it's got to be a county green sign?
No, yeah, we don't allow, the signs are not negotiable,
Okay.
just the post. So
Okay.
the signs have to meet our standards. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, just the post.
Just the post, and
But they would
is
be
that still an
responsible for it.
option then? And so
Yeah.
they, the developer, are now responsible, and it says it in the ordinance that they're responsible?
Well, there's an agreement that you can sign, but like I said, we went away from that because it's just not real comfortable.
Okay.
Having, for emergency.
So there's nothing that we need to do to help you all in that regard? Okay.
Not for that one.
Anybody else got anything about sidewalks? Because I have a question now. I'm going to shift gears. About a year ago, we sent a letter to the county council regarding 188, the intersection of 188 and 28, where the CVS and Exxon bounty land
Yes.
is. Do you know of, and then there was a subdivision was going to come in on South Cove area that Seneca had approved and annexed.
Yeah.
That hasn't started yet, but could happen anytime. Do you know of any movement from ACOG or any other group to try to address that intersection area?
I've spoken with my counterpart with the DOT, and he's not aware of anything that would change that intersection of 188 and 28. That would be a very difficult intersection to change. I know, everybody can look at it and say it'd be nice to change it, but it would be extremely difficult to rework that with the railroad being involved and then, businesses being lined up where the likely tie-in may come in from there. So it would be difficult to move it around, not saying impossible, but to his knowledge, there is no plan to upgrade or.
But ACOG would be the group that we would work with.
I know ACOG has involvement in several different projects, so they may be one of the entities to work with if that's what y'all were wanting to look at, a study of how the feasibility of moving it. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions, pothole, anything?
Well, I have one. What is the plans for our road department to get our roads better? I mean, do we have any future plans on
Yeah,
getting
paving.
some of these roads paved?
Yeah, paving contract should be, hopefully be released here soon. Something I've been working on, kicking back and forth, trying to do something a little bit different as far as some of the roads that haven't been paved in many, many years because they didn't have right-of-way. The ordinance requires that they have right-of-way, to pave them, but we have the charge to maintain them, so maintenance, we can do a maintenance overlay, and maintain those roads or put them back as they were before. So that's kind of the back and forth that I'm going through, is tearing up an entire road to put back 5 inches of stone, 2 inches of asphalt, or patching and overlaying a road that's not been paved for many, many years. And the cost incurred by doing that kind of rehab on that old of a road.
Is some of this gas tax money coming to the
Yes.
county to help us out?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I know there's probably not what we need, but.
Trying to remember exactly the number. No, the C Fund's been pretty generous with us as far as providing funding, and then the council as well, with setting aside millage for our operation and for road maintenance. So, a lot of that is, we're well blessed, we're well blessed to a point with how well those folks work with us. And it was $1 million something, I can't remember, but it was right around $1 million that C Funds gave us.
I'm not blaming y'all because I know
Oh,
what
you're
y'all
fine.
do, but
Yeah.
we got several roads out here that they're getting to the point where they really just need to be shut down, not even driven on, because when you drive down the road, you have to take your car and get it front end realigned because of the potholes, because of the asphalt broke. And
Any road in particular, county road that you can
not
think
right
of?
off, but I'm on the road
All over, yeah.
pretty much, seem like
No,
every day.
if there's something that's damaging a vehicle, then it may not be it may not be a long-term fix, it may be a short-term fix, but, filling in potholes and whatever, that's what we do every day. So if there's something that's damaging vehicles, then obviously we jump on that as quick as we possibly can. If there's a road that's damaging cars or causing that kind of issue, or cars having to leave their lane to avoid it, then that's nothing that we want, and somebody will be there to fix it really quick.
Next time, if I go across any,
Just give me a call.
Across
You got a phone
any,
number now.
But I just didn't.
He's always at, he's at it.
Yeah, I've always had his number. But I just want, we've got so many county roads out here.
Right.
People think a lot of our county roads or think a lot of our roads are county when they're not. They're actually state roads.
Yes.
Because if it joins a state road on like Bennett Road. Bennett Road, everybody thought that was a county road. That's actually a state road because you got state roads on each end of it.
Rule of thumb, normally, if you see a black sign that has a number on it, S37 dash whatever, that's a state road. If you see white fog lines, that's a state road. Lisa Simmer has done a great job with giving us a county road map that you can pull up and see if it's a state or a county road or a private, all those things. So, there's a lot of that. I mean, we get several phone calls. And the state does too. I mean, people think that, there's only the DOT and there's not a county road department. So it's kind of back and forth. So the ladies in the office that take those calls do a great job kind of getting people where they need to go and back and forth.
I got one other one and I'll shut up. Do you personally, I mean, as far as your job, do you have any objection to have bike lanes on our county roads where people can actually ride
The room.
out of the road and be on a bike lane beside, do you have any objections to it?
No, I don't have objections to, like I said, sidewalks or bike lanes or anything like that, but the room and the cost is gonna be significant. Cause a lot of our county roads are 16, 18 foot wide and minimal shoulder, whatever, and then whatever grading you got outside of there. Whenever you start dealing with, large cuts and fills, living in the foothills, the topography that we have, it gets difficult to.
I was just looking at safety because we've got a lot of people now riding bicycles all over it. A lot of it's on state roads.
Well, obviously, safety would be the,
There's
first
a lot
concern.
of it on our county roads as well,
Right.
and most people can't even see a tractor going down the road, so.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
I just wondered if we could do that on our county roads. I mean, if, we could afford to.
Have
do it
no
up at that
problem,
way.
if there's a plan or in my mind, you pick where the good places for those facilities would be. You know, that kind of stuff is, give people a place to ride, but give people a place to ride that's safe and, you know, that kind of stuff, not won't cost an inordinate amount, you know, crazy amount to redo to add that ability. So, no, I don't have an issue with anything with bike lanes. It's just, you know, what kind of plan you got as far as that goes. I know Mr. Shirley would be the best one to discuss, throwing him under the bus to come to the planning commission, but he'd be the best one to discuss to you know, what kind of need there is for that along some of these things with his involvement with the trails that are going on and that kind of stuff. So he would be the best one to talk to as far as where those things may be necessary, and then coming up with a plan. And then as we go along, you know, you want it, and the DOT's starting to do a lot more of this. And you know, you're talking about the sidewalks as far as and bus stops and that kind of stuff. Now, they may not add all that stuff in, you know, as they go, but looking at a total street plan, you know, looking at a total plan, what is the desire in the future? Because there's nothing worse than going in there and fixing something and you think it's fixed, and then, you know, 6 months later somebody said, well, it'd been great. We had this plan for, you know, 20 years to do this here, and now y'all fix the road. Why didn't y'all do it then? So, you know, all this stuff that comes up is, and I think the former DPE that came and talked to y'all about the comprehensive plan and corridor planning and that kind of stuff, it said, you know, if the ordinance is enacted in place, then that's what we're going to be looking at to try to enforce. So, any plan that y'all send to council approves, as far as what they want to do in the future would be, we or people like me would want to know. You know, if this is the plan, if this is where we're going, then we can certainly see if it fits into what, you know, funding and what we're trying to do as far as fixing something.
Well, if I can,
Sure.
as we're planning for the future, being the planning commission, and we see Clemson expanding across the lake, and we see developments going in there, and some of these, you know, whether it's 123 or maybe Shiloh area as it moves to the future, we're trying to look and go, okay, should we require a developer, if that's going to be a future bus route, to go ahead and get a sidewalk in that allows for some pull-off or some area while they own the property to make them do something? And so we're trying to figure out as a county, right now we say no. Why are we saying no on some kind of access like that from a sidewalk standpoint? And so those were some of the reasons why we were having you come up here.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure it out.
Anybody else got anything?
Thank you.
Kyle, I think Andy back here wants to say a few words. Is that not right, Andy? Yes. And if you could hang around, just
I can.
watch this for a few minutes. Andy, come on up here. He's, I heard him at the last ag meeting. He's got some special needs.
Yes, sir. I'm Andy White. Me and my dad and my brother, we farm on the southern end of the county from Seneca and Westminster down toward 85. And I'm representative for the Young Farmer Ranchers with the Farm Bureau. I spoke with the Ag Advisory Board last Monday, and a lot of the concerns that we have, you know, is on county roads and state roads. I took some pictures. I don't know if we can put those up. I think there's a video also. The main concerns are mailboxes, trees hanging over the road and on the side of the road, the absence of a shoulder to be able to get equipment over to allow traffic to pass both directions. You know, if cars trying to come around us and there's oncoming traffic, we have nowhere to go with equipment. And public knowledge. There's no education, there's no means of education out there now that I know of, educating new drivers and drivers on the road now how to maneuver around large farm equipment, or even just a Ford 8N with a hay bale on the back. Nobody really knows how to drive around this equipment. We're looking at trying to get some educational programs done, and the mailbox is a big thing. There's several that we have to maneuver around that are brick or block right on the white line. And it's either, a lot of times it's either try to maneuver between the car and the mailbox that you're meeting, and you can't get stopped with a 50,000-pound machine. Even though you're only running 20 miles an hour, that's still a lot of mass to stop.
I get some of the pictures up, the video, I'm having trouble getting to the,
This was a surprise when I heard this, people building these stone mailboxes out there very close to the road and they can't maneuver.
Yeah.
And the other one was branches up there where they've got these high equipment and the branches are impeding that and dangerous for the equipment.
Yes. It's like I was coming down Cedar Lane 2 weeks ago and knocked the GPS off the top of my sprayer. The sprayer's only 12.5 feet tall. So, it's just, we need the tree limbs cut, mailboxes possibly moved, ditches moved somehow, and I don't know what the exact answer is to all this, but we're just asking for help.
Do you know if these are state or county roads or whatever?
Both.
Cedar Lane is ours.
Yeah, Cedar Lane, Mud Creek, Grant. This right here, that's Bethel Road there.
Right.
Can you play the video of going down Highway 24?
this is the only video that I had, I think.
Did you send her the
I
other
did
one?
send it, but,
What was the other one?
I'm sorry, I was having a little internet issues, and I don't know what went and what didn't, I'm sorry.
Kyle,
There's a video of my brother taking our planters down Highway 24. And right there at Pioneer Water, the mailboxes are right on the white line. And he's having to maneuver between log trucks and cars coming up 24 there.
Here's some
And
pictures.
some of these
I think.
pictures I just took on Mud Creek, Cedar Lane,
Show the pictures. if
Snow
you
Creek
get the
Road.
video.
There's a sign on Snow Creek Road. If you're coming from Seneca down toward the bridge, that's a state road.
Right.
If you're in the lane in a pickup truck, your mirror hits the sign. That's how far the sign is sticking out in the road. There's two signs below it, and they put this sign right on the white line for some reason. And another issue, I know this is a state issue, I haven't seen the county doing this yet, is the weight limits on bridges. They spent a huge amount of money putting these signs and weight limits to our bridges, and now we can't get to the fields the fastest way. We're having to go the long way around to get to a lot of our fields because the weight limit's on the bridge now. Why wasn't that money spent to fix the bridge instead of just putting up a sign? And a lot of these signs are blocking other intersections. You come out, like when you come out of Snow Creek on the Highway 24, the weight limit sign is actually blocking your view back down 24. And that's another issue that we run into. It's not just with the trucks. That's a Worley Road there. You can see how the tree limbs are growed up over it. Weight limits on bridges, that's not just affecting trucks, that's affecting farm equipment. I mean, empty combine with no header's 35,000 pounds. That's as light as we can get it. And we're having to go around different ways because of and this is on 59 here, coming down from Roller's Grove toward Crossroads. You can see how close the guardrail is to the white line there. We have nowhere to go. You meet a car in that half-a-mile stretch there, and you have nowhere to go. But there was plenty of shoulder there when that guardrail was put up. It's 5 foot behind it. Why wouldn't the guardrail move back? I guess we're not really asking for anything new to be done. Just maintain what we have and try to move guardrails, move mailboxes. And like you was talking about a minute ago, the bike lane, that would benefit us greatly. With the project they have going on 24, that's gonna benefit us more than anything. Maybe we could work with the bicyclist, the agriculture side and them to help, get more of these bike lanes done, because that's gonna be a huge help to us.
Kyle, do we not have regulations or whatever that says you can't put a mailbox but so close to the road?
No, that's federal.
I don't care
That's
who
federal
it is,
government.
but that's just, and I agree with him, we have mailboxes on our road, Little Sunil Road. The mailbox is hanging over this far into the road, you have to go around it. If two cars are coming, one's coming out and one's going in, either one stops or they take out a mailbox.
Right.
So the government can say they put the mailbox anywhere, it don't matter.
The
And you hit it, you gotta
postmaster-
replace it.
The postmaster is the one that
Maybe we
decides
need to
where,
get, maybe we need to get the postmaster in here and,
we have nothing to do with mailboxes.
And it's not just a safety issue for us, because we have, if you're going down the road, a piece of equipment, you have to stop to allow traffic to come by, then you take the chance of being rear-ended, because people are texting, reading newspaper, going down the road. I mean, we see it all.
oh,
It's not just a safety issue for us, it's a safety issue for the mail carriers. Because they're in the middle of the lane, blocking traffic, they're not able to get off to allow traffic to safely pass.
had one hit on 183 or something right there in that, Oakway area a couple of years ago, and they put her out of commission for a long time.
Yes.
Didn't kill her none, but
Yeah.
she was sitting in
Extra
a
mile.
mailbox and
Is
come right
there,
down and flat.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead.
Is there a contact number that you can give to Vivian for the state for at least talking about the tree limbs and some things like that, maybe getting them trimmed?
The easiest thing, the best thing for us, and maybe for the state too, is a list of where you're having issues. We try to get around to every road once every 3 years with a slope mower, which is, it's a lot of roads to slope mow. So we try to get around every 3 years, but whenever we're doing it, normally it's not it's when the grass ain't growing and the leaves ain't on the trees. So whenever the leaves get on the trees, the limbs hang down. And we may not catch it because of how it's hanging down now, acorn, whatever it may be. It's difficult for us to do that. So we've got 4 mowers that mow 660 miles of road about more than twice a year, and then they go and slope mow for several months out of the year to hit a third of the roads slope mowing.
And that's like on Cedar Lane there, what I was mentioning,
If you got a specific place, then we can
Yeah.
get the limb cut.
Yeah,
But it don't
where I
help
hit
your
the
GPS.
GPS.
Yeah,
the tree's actually probably 20 feet from the road.
right.
And the limb just comes over. And that's the majority of the problems we have. It's not just saplings growing up on the side of the road.
No,
It's big trees that come over and the limb drops.
right. And if it's wet, if it's been raining, they're gonna hang lower,
Yeah.
all these things that come in.
So we just need to get the agriculture committee, get them Kyle's phone number, and,
But in defense for
1672.
Kyle,
yeah,
we got an easement problem as well in this county on county roads. A lot of our roads don't have, they got pavement to pavement and that's it.
That's it, well, the envelope of the road, so
Yeah.
ditch to ditch,
And-
prescriptive easement is what we have on most everything. Is
It's
prescriptive
not
easement.
necessarily-
And it's truly, you go down Worley Road and you got fences on either side of the road and you got 2 foot, and that's it, and that's for the water to run in, and then you got roadway. So there's nothing, there's no room to do anything else, and like he's talking about, some of the equipment he's pulling or driving around in, it's exceedingly difficult to have infrastructure set up for that. And I'm not trying to, get out of anything or anything else like that. If we can help, then we obviously will. So if I get a list of where the problem spots are, then we can go mitigate what we can mitigate.
And like I
But
said,
that's wide and that's big
Yeah.
to be going down the road. So,
like I said,
but he's gotta move it, so.
I understand, that especially on the county roads, there's, you're restricted greatly. Like Bethel, that's a state road right there.
Right.
And when they come through and paved it, they didn't move the ditch. The state's got the right of way. They got 37.5 feet on secondary road. They didn't move the ditch. So even if you're driving through there in your car and you break down, you have nowhere to go. You pull off the road, you're in a ditch, you're stuck. There's no shoulder anymore. That's a huge issue. And then,
And sometimes they have the right of way. The state normally has right of way. We normally
Yeah.
don't, the state normally does, but there's some places like on 28 that don't have right of way. But no, I'm not trying to disagree with you on that end, but it, you know, more attention is given, or more credence is given to the safety of driving on the roadway than it is at times to the ancillary, the ditches and the culverts and, you know, whatever it may be, bridges,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff. Yeah, and the reason for the bridge change is they came out with a new standard for bridges and how you weight load bridges, and there's a ton of them more that got weight restricted.
So it would be helpful then if the ag group got together and identified some areas that maybe you could help out on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can pass on, you can send it to me and I'll pass it on to the DOT. I have no issue with that. And, you know, like on our stuff, if you got a specific place, then we'll be happy to take a look and fix it. Especially with tearing up equipment
Yeah,
or pushing you out into the other lane.
yeah.
Anything else, Andy?
One of the things about the mailboxes, I'd like to see some kind of ordinance put in place. I mean, I don't know what it take to do it, to not be able to build a permanent structure for a mailbox. Because that's a safety issue for us, it's for everybody. You get rid out of the road for some reason, you hit a brick mailbox, you're totaling your vehicle. Versus having a breakaway like it's legally supposed to be. Where just the post knocks over, you might scratch your paint.
Isn't that already a legal requirement?
It is,
You
but it's
have
not
breakaway
enforced.
mailboxes?
I don't know. I have no
I
idea.
thought
it
it
is.
was well, but I don't.
From my research, it is illegal to have a permanent structure as a mailbox. It has to be a breakaway.
Yeah.
But it has not been enforced, and they are popping up everywhere.
Yeah, they did that when kids back in the day used to come by and hit them and stuff, and people were actually tearing their, breaking arms and everything, because kids would hit them with like ball bats and stuff, and I remember them passing something that said you can't have a permanent, it has to be something that'll break away. Instead of like the blocks and the bricks and stuff, you put mailboxes in.
Yeah, depending on the speed of the road, things have to be breakaway from our standpoint for signs. As far as mailboxes, I'm not 100% sure on that.
Anybody else got any questions for Kyle? Kyle, you got any? Andy, you got anything else?
I don't think so.
Kyle?
I just want to say one thing. We showed Highway 59 there. If we've got sewer going down Highway 59, which means gas stations, hotels, restaurants, et cetera, and we've got heavy equipment running down there, we think we have a problem now. 5 years from now, we're going to be looking at a nightmare.
But I was gonna make one more comment too, on the Exit 4 project. We have 200 acres below Love's in Anderson County. We travel up through there all the time with heavy equipment. And the problem I see, if Love's would have if they'd have put a turn lane in for Love's, for the trucks to be able to get in, to turn and let traffic keep flowing, there would not be a bottleneck, there wouldn't be an issue. But we have to go, most time we take 243 to Wooten Road and then come down to O'Donnell's Bridge that way and just completely bypass it. But that's a tremendous issue there with Love's, and then throw another truck stop in there also, that's gonna be,
So you talking about left-hand turns into Love's?
Yes.
Right,
yeah, if there's a left-hand turning lane into Love's,
yeah, right,
where the trucks could back up and then traffic could keep flowing around them,
right.
there wouldn't be a safety issue there as much. Because my experience traveling down through there, there'll be a line of trucks backed up, and there'll be some cars in between them trying to go on down O'Donnell's Bridge Road. They'll come out, try to pass those trucks, trying to turn. Truck turns in front of them, or a car comes head on, almost hits them, and it turns into a big mess. But that may be something you want to look into when this new truck stop coming in. Make sure there's long enough turning lanes in case there is a backup, you know.
Well, we're asking the questions. It's just you're pushing the South Carolina DOT. It's,
I understand.
okay.
I think that's all I have.
Thank you both
Anybody
for
else?
all the
Thank you very
information.
much for your time and your preparation. Really appreciate it very much. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next agenda item is development standards. Let me put my glasses on here. Give me the floor for a couple of minutes here, if you will. Bear with me. This is back on the agenda in an order to act as a reminder and to be transparent as we can with this ordinance. No action is required on our part. This ordinance did not make it to the county council for whatever reason. And let me refresh everybody's memory here. The ordinance was approved by the Planning Commission in October of 2020, last year. The minutes are in your backup material. They're highlighted with yellow. It was sent to the PED and approved for county council consideration in November of 2020. Those minutes are in your backup material and they're highlighted in yellow. I don't know why it never made it to the county council. It's not important to try to figure that out at this point. But what the development standards does is the owner, and I'm going to read a little bit here, of new non-residential multifamily and mixed-use developments being developed next to existing residential, multifamily, agriculture, or forestry uses shall be responsible for the installation and maintenance of a lighting, buffering, and screening standards set forth. In any case, it is going up to the next PED meeting, which is in about the middle of August next month, for their review and consideration again. And again, there's no action required at our point. Does anybody have any questions, comments at this point? If nobody has any, the next item on the agenda is something called adjourning.
Motion we adjourn?
I'll second that.